Hello, I'm Marc Sumner, host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have Julian Brownlow Davies, the Global VP of Security Services in the studio in London from Bugcrowd. How are we doing, Julian?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Mark. Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to see you in the studio. Now, normally, Julian, when I get someone in the studio, I normally go through their LinkedIn profile, and I had a little scour through yours, and I noticed that you were in Australia leading NCC. So how did you end up being out there?
I started working for NCC Group back in 2005 through an acquisition they made of the company, a boutique web testing company they acquired at the time. Quickly realised that cyber was a far more interesting space to be in than the performance testing domain I'd been in, pivoted into kind of joining that part of the company. 2013 came around, or 2012 came around, and I had spent quite a bit of time in Australia. My wife was Australian, so we used to visit. We had a couple of techies based in Australia, and so I put a proposal to the CEO that I should go and build the APAC business. So took a little while. About a year later, he'd approved. I'd got my visa. Off I went. First man on the ground. Couple of techies.
Literally, no presence out there. No.
We had about 100 grand's worth of customers that the local pen testers had kind of picked up through word of mouth, and I proceeded to construct a sales team, build the business there. Over about 6 or 7 years, built it up to about 100 people across Australia, Singapore, and Japan. And it was a fantastic journey, lots of fun. And that's kind of when I pivoted from sales into more general management, operational strategy kind of roles. And much as I'd enjoyed my career in sales, realised that was far more exciting role to be in.
What would you say is the sort of the main differences in sort of the working style in selling out in Australia compared to sort of, say, EMEA?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, actually. And it was one of the sort of early challenges I had was it's a much more kind of casual approach to business meetings, lots of cafes and, a lot of relationship building. I find in the UK, people are a lot more kind of, let's get down to business.
Yeah.
If they accept a meeting, it's kind of pre-qualified because they don't want to waste their time. Don't want to waste their time meeting you if they're not interested in what you've got to say. In Australia, they tend to be a bit more happy to just have a coffee bought for them and get to know you and that sort of thing. It's also a much smaller community. So you do find, Sydney and Melbourne tend to be kind of like, small 4 million people cities, and the communities kind of move around quite a lot. So I do find that people were a lot more risk averse. So there's a lot more danger if you screw up in your job that word gets around. So
really?
You had to really help the buyers understand the risks they were taking, the benefits they were taking. It's funny because when I used to hire people, it was one of the first things I'd ask them if they were not from Australia. What's the difference in the working culture here, and how do you overcome it? So interesting because two nations separated by a common language, as they say. So
absolutely. What made you come back? Because obviously you were doing pretty well out there.
Yeah, no, it was good. I left NCC in 2020. I kind of got a little bit frustrated with the lack of innovation in the consulting, in the pen testing industry, the consulting. We were still doing things the same way we'd done them for 10 years. And I spent a short time in a boutique SOC firm in Western Australia that was doing some quite innovative stuff with MDR services and that sort of thing. We exited that company after a couple of years, and that kind of coincided with just for family reasons, really. I wanted to come home, so we'd exited that company. I wanted to get closer to my family again and bring the kids back to the UK to get rid of their Aussie accents.
You've still got a bit of a twang yourself, haven't you?
I know. My wife and children still speak with an Aussie accent, so I haven't been successful there.
Yeah. Brilliant. So let's bring it up to date, because what led you to join Bugcrowd nearly sort of 2 years ago?
That point about the frustration with the lack of innovation was really key. And I met Dave Gary, our CEO, at a Black Hat one year, and was just kind of expressing to him exactly that. I think the consulting industry is struggling. Customers are wanting more for less. consultants are wanting bigger salaries. There was no automation in the process. No one was doing anything smart to try and reduce human toil and deliver better value for the hours or days spent. And obviously Dave said, well, that's what we're doing at Bugcrowd, right? We've built a platform. We crowdsource our skill, so we have much more flexibility, and both in terms of depth of skill that we can access, the flexibility and timing, but also we automate an amount of the sort of manual toil away from the setup of a pen test, some of the reporting elements, that the constructing of the reports all automated away, all of that kind of stuff. But there's more to do, and so he wanted myself as a leader in the offensive security industry, and particularly because I came from that kind of customer first background, coming from sales, that I was very much about solving customer problems. And I think a lot of technical industries sometimes get a little bit lost in the perfection of the tech or the perfection of the output, and don't necessarily think about what is the customer problem we're trying to solve. So yeah, Dave invited me to come and join Bugcrowd. We want to innovate. We want to continue to innovate. And yeah, I've been there for 20 months now or something. So yeah, it's been a great journey so far.
So for the listeners out there that maybe not knowing Bugcrowd, how would you describe them in the market? What do they do?
We were founded in Australia, funnily enough, in 2012. Our founder moved to California soon after that as a bug bounty platform. Essentially, that's about helping customers engage the ethical hacker community to uncover vulnerabilities in their attack surface, and do it in a kind of incentivized pay for results manner. So, you don't pay a daily rate like you would in pen testing or something like that. You pay for the actual outcome, the vulnerability that's discovered. So that's where the organisation started. It's still a very significant part of our business. We're one of the leaders in the industry in bug bounty, managed bug bounty services and vulnerability disclosure programs. But we kind of evolved from there into to offer a greater range of offensive and preemptive security services. So the pen testing service was stood up just before I joined. That's our fastest growing offering today. So that's pen test as a service delivered through the platform with crowdsourced testers. More recently, we've launched Red Team as a service. That's something I brought to the business. Brought in some particular talent to help us develop that. And again, it's about kind of reimagining what are we trying to do with Red Team. It's about helping organizations understand whole of organization security exposure within that, and again, bringing the unique capabilities we have from the platform perspective to be able to automate things like open source intelligence, attack surface discovery, that sort of thing, but also source those really high-end unique skills that you need in a Red Team kind of environment. Yeah, and we're continuing to evolve from there. So it's managed bug bounty, vulnerability disclosure programs, pen test as a service, Red Team as a service, and attack surface management today.
Julian, in 2025, every company out there wants net new customers. What's working for Bugcrowd? How are you getting net new customers?
Well, I think all service lines are growing. The Red Team as a service has gone from zero to hero pretty quickly, first couple of quarters, and we're very busy in that. It's a unique offering. Pen test as a service is our fastest growing service, and I think it's the speed and flexibility. Again, it's what I saw in the market when I was in a consulting business, is the lack of flexibility, the lack of speed, the ability to deliver faster, time to value from a platform and a crowdsourced model. And yeah, we're seeing those, particularly in the enterprise sector. We're seeing those service lines growing very rapidly. And yeah.
What's the biggest challenge in 2025 with your organisation? Is it economic? Is it talent? Is it technology? Is it something else? What's been the biggest challenge?
It's really about scaling growth. It's about creating more leverage for people, enabling people to work more effectively, more efficiently. It's about continuing to keep up with customer demand and but also customer requirement as the industry evolves. I mean, I think we're very much at an inflection point in the offensive security industry at the moment, and we have to adapt rapidly, and that's something we're doing. And we're seeing across the industry, but that adaptation and scaling has been challenging, but we're working through it.
One of the big discussion points at Channel Chat Live recently was around talent and lack of talent maybe coming in from other industries. If someone wants to join Bugcrowd or another cyber company, if they haven't got cyber skills or have been in the cyber industry, have they actually got a chance of getting into the industry?
Oh, 100%. I think people sometimes forget that really cyber isn't a technical conversation, it's a risk conversation, right? So organizations don't really care about the technical detail, except in the fact that that delivers them a risk outcome, right? So the conversation you have with a customer isn't about, you know, exactly what the pen tester is going to do from a technical perspective. It's what risk they're going to, how you're going to help that customer reduce their risk. And the reality for us, of course, is that because of our crowdsourcing model, we have access to, you know, hundreds of thousands of, you know, over 500,000 ethical hackers that are on our platform. So in terms of actual deep technical skill, we've got all of it, right? And what we need in Bugcrowd is our leaders, business professionals, people that can talk to a customer about their risk, help them manage that. And so those are very transferable skills from other industries. So yeah, we certainly find people coming in from all sorts of different avenues.
You mentioned there about outcomes. Do you think customers actually care about the product anymore, or is it just about the outcome? It doesn't really matter what the product is.
I really do. I think we, as an industry, not just cyber, but as a tech industry, we kind of got a bit obsessed with product building because of, you know, the SaaS boom, the VC, you know, VC multiples, all that sort of thing, and product was what everybody wanted to do, and it to some extent was a kind of brain drain to the product sector because that's where you could make more money. But really, you know, a product without an outcome is a bit pointless, right? And you see lots of expensive tools sitting on shelves, not doing everything. You know, some of the companies I really admire, they think about how to engage their customers with their product through a services layer, through outcome-based conversations, and that's, again, what we're trying to do at Bugcrowd. Ultimately, we are a product company, we're a platform company, but we're helping customers achieve real outcomes through the services layer that our ethical hackers bring to us and so on.
With the rapid change of tech, especially in security and now AI.
I knew you'd say AI.
You have to.
At some point.
It's got to come up. It's got to come up. But with that rapid change, do you feel older professionals are potentially being left behind, or can they actually reskill effectively? It's a difficult one.
It is a difficult one. I think the short answer is it depends. What I look for when I'm hiring people is really a growth mindset, right? And if it's a growth mindset, you're continually learning. And so you're not necessarily, whatever your age, you're not necessarily stale, if you like. Experience does count for a lot, especially in rapid change. You know, one of the things, you know, I'm older than I look. I've been through the...
saying that. Oh, you still look good. You still look good.
That's the answer I wanted, Mark. Thank you. You know, I've been through the .com boom and bust. I've been through the telco boom and bust. I've been through the GFC, GRC on the brain sometimes. The GFC, and I think those kind of experiences are really valuable. A lot of younger people maybe have much more up-to-date skills, but they've only lived through growth times, and rapid change can be somewhat challenging. So I think, you know, the answer is it depends. It probably wasn't, you know, probably didn't want me to sit on the fence there, but...
no, but you're right. If they have got a growth mindset, it's the individual.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about consolidation in the market, because it's always played a big part in vendors and the landscape. Does M&A sort of squeeze out the smaller players, or does it potentially create new opportunities?
I think it does create new opportunities. I mean, let's be frank, a lot of the smaller players are in it for their exit, right? Yeah. So they're not many people start a company thinking they're going to be the next Palo Alto or whatever. So it's very much the lifeblood of the industry, and you see innovation coming from those sorts of organizations. It's often hard to really scale a startup without into enterprise sectors without a bit more resource behind you. So that innovation that is then absorbed into organizations that have more human and cash capital to be able to scale those innovations, I think that is very much the kind of lifeblood of the industry.
Do you think we'll see the next Palo Alto, or do you think they're going to just the top 10 are just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and swallow these companies up?
You've got OpenAI, Anthropic. They weren't around a few years ago, or they were tiny. So, and they're now in there in the top few, right? So yeah, I think that's absolutely still possible. And and also history's littered with not Palo Alto, but other dominant players, Nokia, right? And Kodak, and so history's littered with stories of the big players disappearing, but also very rapid scaling growth of the smaller organisations. I mean, look at Wiz or someone like that today as well.
Let's talk about threats. What shifts are you sort of most worried about in the next sort of 2 or 3 years? What should companies be thinking about?
Well, you brought it up first, so AI. I can say it now you've said it. So yeah, I mean, look, the threat actors are moving faster. They don't wait for board approval to use an AI tool. Right, they're not doing a risk assessment on what happens to them. They're deploying these tools to accelerate their ability to attack. I mean, Heathrow the other day, Jaguar Land Rover, Marks and Spencers. I mean, these are getting much faster. We still see the humans as a major weak point. This is obviously one of the reasons for Red Team as a service. It tests the whole of organisations' defences. But yeah, it's just the scale and the speed at which the threat actors are moving now that I think is the biggest threat. They're still attacking the entire attack surface, including the human attack surface as well.
And what are the basics a company can do? So if they're thinking, oh my God, there's loads of threat actors at the moment, we're constantly being potentially at risk, what's the basics they can do?
Everyone's still doing pen testing. It's a large part of most compliance regimes. It's an important tool, but I think we need to move beyond those. And I'm not alone in thinking this, of course, but we've got to move beyond that sort of annual compliance checks. People have to think about organizational security from a continuous basis, right? Threat actors, they can work in between audit periods. They're not waiting for you to have your next annual assessment before they attack you. And so we're looking at a lot more continuous kind of testing. So obviously we deliver a continuous pen testing program. We deliver continuous red team. But bug bounty is actually kind of the original continuous offensive security because it's always on. It's an annual program, recurring annual programs where the hackers are always looking at your attack infrastructure. Your attack surface and helping you identify those problems. So continuous testing, I think, is absolutely the basics that you need now. That's kind of table stakes. Then moving into the more kind of threat-informed assessments and threat-informed defense-based capabilities as well.
When I have people on the show, Julian, lots of people start worrying about their jobs. They're thinking AI is going to take their jobs and there's going to be loads of job losses. What are Bugcrowd doing around jobs? Are they continuing to hire? Are they losing jobs? What's happening in your world?
We've not slowed down. AI is something that we're investing in all parts of the business, but we're taking a fairly prudent approach to it. We're not going gung-ho and deploying AI everywhere. We're looking for where we can make real benefits that hit the bottom or top line. And we see AI is enabling humans. We don't see it as replacing humans. No human could no AI could sit here and have this conversation, right? And
hopefully not. I'm not going to replace technical just yet.
And the same with our customers, right? Our customers want to interface with humans. What I want is for my people to do less manual toil, to do less pressing buttons. Computers are good at pressing buttons. Humans are good at engaging humans. Humans are good at ingenuity. They're good at risk assessment. They're good at those sorts of things that AI just isn't even close to being capable of today. So we see AI as an augment, both in terms of our business operations, but also our customer operations, so the services we offer to our customers.
Do you see specific jobs going or specific jobs being created in your organisation around AI?
Interestingly, there's this new sort of concept of like a GTM engineer or an automation engineer. I think those are the sorts of really interesting roles that's starting to crop up. So, you know, I'm hiring for an automation engineer in the operations department at the moment, for example. I hope to have hired it by the time this podcast goes out.
For us now. That should have been a role for us, Julian. Come on. You can't sit in the studio and not give me that job.
So, yeah, there are definitely, you know, yes, roles will disappear. But again, this is come back to the importance of a growth mindset. You've got to take charge of your own career. You've got to continue to learn. You've got to continue to adapt and evolve. The printing press didn't reduce the number of jobs long term. The telephone didn't. You know, all of these kind of technological advances just pivots, just changes jobs, right? You know, we had no web developers. I was going to say 10 years ago, but it's about 30 now. So I am showing my age now. We had no web developers once upon a time, and now we're awash with them, right? So so jobs will change. I don't fear for the amount of employment. I think it's just going to change.
You moved into general leadership from a sales background. And I wanted to ask your advice to someone who's stepping into a leadership role in cyber services for the first time. What advice should they be thinking about if they're going into that first leadership role?
I think it's curiosity is really important. And I think, you know, not focusing on the one domain that you're good at, and being interested in other parts of the business, being literate at least in finance, in operations, in HR, and those kind of areas, so that you can have those wider conversations. The interesting thing about more general management is all the different levers you get to pull. You know, you can work across a business. I would say generosity is also really important. So I've often said curiosity and generosity are two of the most important qualities in a leader. And by generosity, I mean generosity of your time to help build other people, because you're only as good as the team around you. And if you can't support and enable and develop those people, then you as a leader won't succeed either.
A couple of quick fire questions, Julian.
Oh, I don't like the quick fire ones.
Couple of quick fire questions. Have you got an AI tool on your phone that you use today?
Yes.
What is it?
Which one of them?
Have you got more than one?
I have Gemini, OpenAI, Claude. So I use them all for slightly different use cases. Wow. I've got an iPhone with Apple Intelligence, if you call that AI. We're
quite a geek Julian here, isn't he?
Jury's out there.
Oh dear. People don't like this when I ask it, but as a recruiter I should do. If you got sacked tomorrow,
yep.
I'm not saying you should, by the way, but if you did, where would you go and why?
It comes down to innovation again, right? I like change. I'm one of these people that thrives on change. I would look to some of the more innovative scale-ups. I think a scale-up rather than a startup would be more suitable for me. I mean, I haven't got my CV out there yet, so I haven't thought of any
we'll talk
specific
about that
example.
Offline, we'll talk about that.
But yeah, I'd look for innovative scale-ups, organisations that I can really bring my approach and my experience to, but also that excite me. So I want to be able to add value to them, but I want them to add value to me. So something that would stretch me a bit and help me continue to grow. And
my last question, and I don't want you to sit on the fence, and I don't want you to say Bugcrowd, and it could be, if you lost your job where you want to go, it might be that company. But is there a company that you feel, or an organisation in 2026 that you think they're going to do well? And it could be a vendor, an MSP, a reseller, distributor. One company.
I think what we spoke about earlier about the sort of outcomes and the enabling product and platform with services is kind of key. And I really like what Snick are doing at the moment. You know, they're an absolute leader in their space, but they're growing even faster now that they've started to deploy professional services to help their customers get the outcomes from their platform. So yeah, I would be tapping up their CEO if I needed to.
So if we need your CV, that's where I can send you into. Julian, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Love to be here.